This week's Parsha is, of course, the Parsha of Miketz. I want to take this opportunity to dedicate the shir to the welfare of Rabbi Reuven Gross, of Refuah Reuven Meir ben Rachel Miriam, one of the pillars of our community, and certainly a person who is an ish emes, a person who his whole life he has dedicated to seeking truth in a manner that brings harmony rather than discord. So may HaKadosh Baruch Hu grant him a refuah shlema, and may we, of course, the Ritzon Hashem is always up to Hashem, but may we be zocha to be able to learn from him and to continue. This week's Parsha of Miketz has within it a number of turning points, of course, by design. So it gives us Yosef, who remembers, who sees his brother, Vayizkor Yosef et hachalomot. When Yosef saw his brothers coming during the crisis of the famine, the Torah is very careful in how it relates to us Yosef's state of mind. Vayizkor Yosef et hachalomot. He didn't remember what they did to him. He remembered the dream. He remembered the destiny of the Jewish people. And that is what clearly motivated him throughout this entire episode and this entire parsha. So we're going to see it in that light. It is, this parsha itself provides us with an extraordinary insight into Yosef and the brothers too, through which we will see most of our shir will focus on three words, aval ashemim anach, but we are guilty. We're going to have to see how.
Michael, could you let Lillian in? She's on trying to get on. Okay.
I think I can do it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
See here? Yeah. Oh, here we go. More people. Admit all. Sorry. There we go. Hope she's in now. Yeah. Good. Welcome, Glenn and Lillian. We said that this week's Parsha is one in which we see the state of mind of the brothers, the state of mind of Yosef. Now, a friend of mine by the name of Howie Pilot once observed in one of our classes, he said, Sefer Bereshit is all about people thinking they know everything and they really know nothing. Okay? So he says here, of course, Paro, way back in Parshat Lech Lecha, thought that Sarah was not married. And the brothers fooled Yaakov with the goat's blood, making him think he was killed. Tamar fooled Yehuda, thinking that she was a prostitute. Yaakov, at his mother's direction, fooled Yitzchak thinking that Yaakov was in fact his son Esau. And of course here, Yosef fools the brothers. His brothers think that they're talking to the viceroy of Egypt, which they are, but little do they know they're really speaking to their own brother, whom they sold into servitude more than 2 decades earlier. And I asked him what he thought. What is it that we can derive from that? And he correctly, I think very correctly said, we think we know everything. We think we're in control, but really it is God who is in control. That is the great lesson, one of the great lessons of Sefer Bereshit. Now, let's take a look for a moment. Paro, just to catch ourselves up, Yosef languishes in jail for 2 years. And he gets his big break, as they say, I was a soda jerk in Los Angeles, and in walks the head of MGM, and he takes me away and makes me a star. Well, Yosef Hatzadik was languishing in the pit. Again, in those days, the jail was not a jail now, like we have with a TV and a place where they can exercise. No, it wasn't that. It was a horrific place. And Yosef was there on trumped up charges. And he was sent, of course, to the jail by Potiphar himself, based upon his wife's deception of Yosef. Now, he's there for 2 years. And then, all of a sudden, the Sarah Mashkim wakes up. Paro has 2 dreams. It now benefits the Sarah Mashkim to tell Yosef, to tell the Paro, that he actually knows of somebody who's capable of interpreting dreams properly. And so they brought him they brought Yosef to Paro. Now, one of the most powerful statements that Yosef makes, and perhaps one of the reasons he is called Yosef HaTzadik, is when they pulled him out of the pit, he shaved and he had clothes and he came up, and Paro says, I understand you can interpret dreams. I got to tell you, if I had been in that situation, I would have said, yes, sir, just tell me the dream. What did Yosef say? Yosef said, Bil Adai. It is not I. When you think of not only the courage, but the emunah that Yosef had, he remembered the dreams and not what they did to him. And he understood that he was not the interpreter of dreams, but it was God. Elokim ya'aneh et shlom paro. It is Hashem himself who will. And after all, who's he talking to? He's talking to a person who either actually or at least wanted to make people believe that he was a god, Pharaoh. Yosef, this slave boy, this prisoner, says, Biladai, I am not the interpreter of dreams, and you are not the governor of the universe. Yosef HaTzadik. Now, then, of course, you have Yosef interprets the dreams accurately, correctly, 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. And in the midst of the famine, when Yosef is 30 years old now, he was sold at 17, in the midst of the famine, Yosef sees the brothers. He recognizes them. They don't recognize him. Now, he now hatches a very elaborate plot. Plot, as Rav says, others say as well, that the plot itself is to determine, has anything really changed? It's not a matter of retribution. It's not a matter of getting back at people who did such foul, evil deed to him. It's a matter of, if we're going to have a rapprochement, if we are going to be a family, then I need to know that things have changed. And so he certainly develops this plot where he accuses them of being spies. They say, no, we're not spies. We're just coming. There were once 12 brothers, now there's 11. One was killed, and there's one back at home because, of course, Binyamin was not sent because Yaakov did not want to send Binyamin. That's his sole remnant from his beloved Rachel. And Yosef, who wants to see Binyamin, it's understandable. He wants to see Binyamin. He wants to see his father. And he says in Perek Membet, Pasuk Yutet, we're going to focus on 3 psukim and then on 3 words. The 19th verse and Perek 42. Im keni matem, says Yosef. Im keni matem. If you are truthful, you are, keni means upright. The word kun, by the way, means to be upright. That's why when we say nachon, what we mean is your answer is upright. So he says, Im keni matem. Achichem echad ye'aser b'veish mishmarchem. I'm not a fool. I'll take one to be in the with me here, and you can go. Right? And you go and bring, not only that, not only go and bring food for your family. That's why you came here. And Ra'avon otei batechem, to be able to dispel the famine in your house. The et achichem hakaton taviu elai. Bring the younger brother. Let's test it. If you bring him, then everything is fine. They understood what he was doing. It, as painful as it was, it made sense to them, so they agreed to do it. Now, Yosef, the Torah doesn't tell us, Yosef must have gone back into his office. You can imagine they're probably sitting in a hallway in the main administrative building. And there they are. All of them are there. Vayomru ish Elochiv. Each said to the other. And these are the key words we're going to focus on today. Aval. Hashemim. But, or as Rashi says, as he interprets the word aval in light of Onkelus's translation, aval, definitely, verily, certainly, Hashemim anachnu. We are guilty. Al achinu, on account of our brother. Asher ra'inu et sarat nafsho. We saw him suffer in that pit. V'hitchaneno eleinu v'lo shamanu. He pleaded with us. We didn't respond. Kein ba'a eleinu hatzara hazot. Therefore, this is what has come to us. It's so pitifully sad today. What would people say? Oh, it's karma. It's the Rabbi Shalom. And so therefore, they do see that a connection. But until now, what we're going to do is we are going to actually analyze these three words, aval hashemim anachnu. But surely, or with certainty, that's what Rashi said. But aval, usually, as we all know, in Hebrew means but. But it's a transition from a prior thought to a new thought. So the question is, what was the prior thought? I'd like to add one thing also. Rav Hirsch, Zatzal, not here, in another place, he explains the concept of aval. And he explains the concept of what does it mean to be a mourner. We call people who are mourning in Shiva and during the year, they're called avelim, but it comes from the word aval, says Rav Hirsch. He says, because when we lose someone that we love very much, so then at every juncture of life, people will say, oh, this is so wonderful, aval, but my loved one isn't here. I can't share it. And so therefore, this is Rav Hirsch's view, not about this here, but parenthetically, sometimes it's very good to hear what a great linguist Rav Hirsch was and how he thought things through. So, and also probably the origin, I don't know whether he says this, but the origin of the word aval comes from also bal. Bal means it's not anymore. There's always an aval. There's always a non-existence that even though we may not express it every day, we may not even maybe very rarely, there's always a form of aval with an avel. And so, however, Rashi chooses not to use that interpretation, but rather Onkelos. And that is bikushta. Now we know. So what we're going to do now for the rest of this period is we're going to analyze these three powerful words. We're going to start with Abravanel, Don Yitzchak Abravanel, who was the 15th and 16th century leader of the Jewish people, both intellectually as well as socially, economically. Hashem had blessed Abravanel with an extraordinary financial mind. and he was able to, Abravanel was first, rose to prominence in Portugal. But then there was the Inquisition in Portugal in 1485. That meant that Abravanel had to run away. He ran to Spain, where he was accepted with open arms. He was placed in a position of great financial decision-making, and that's with Ferdinand and Isabella. And he helped keep Spain afloat. And he was a very, very well thought of person there, of course, until the Jews were expelled by Torquemada and Isabella and Ferdinand in 1492. He was perhaps the only or one of the only Jews that he said, no, you can stay. You don't have to go. They have to go. You don't have to. Bravanel went into self-imposed exile with his beloved people. And there he went, by the way, in 1492. The boats that were setting sail from Christopher Columbus going westward were on the same docks, basically, as those boats which took the Jews eastward in the Mediterranean Sea to the Mediterranean countries, Corsica and islands, etc. And there, Abravanel spent the rest of his life in exile, but that's where he did probably the majority of his classic writing on Tanakh. A very, very important figure. If you ever want to read, if you ever want to have the opportunity to read about him, by all means, please feel free to do so. Just nowadays, it's pretty easy. Make sure you got a nice website, though, something of that has credibility from a Jewish standpoint. But he's an inspiration for the ages, Ravanel. Now, he writes, he says, the people, when he said, Aval Ashemim Anach, they're thinking over 20 years of Yosef's been gone now for 2 decades. Okay, Yosef has been gone from certainly for a long period of time, and they sort of submerged. I guess we put terrible things in the recesses of our mind. We don't always deal with them directly. I do want, before I do a broad note, I just want to quickly tell you something magnificent on this. Because when he talks about these 3 words, Aval Ashemim Anachnu, let us say but. Let us say that it's a transition word, a contrast transition word. And here's what Rav Hirsch writes. The voice of conscience cannot be suffered. You can pour ashes over coals, but even after 50 years, flames will burst brightly. So, of course, the brothers probably, at least according to Rav Hirsch, had put this in the back of their mind. They see their father every day, that they did. Their father never put it in the back of his mind. He mourned Yosef. He refused to be comforted, no matter how many people came to him. He refused. But nevertheless, they had put it more or less in the back of their mind, and life goes on. And but Rav Hirsch says, no, you can have those memories lie dormant. They will flare up. And this is the moment of the flare up for them. Now, Don Yitzchak Abravanel says there are 3 basic reasons why they would reconsider what they're doing and say the words Aval Ashemim Anach. The first thing is they would they see how Yosef is treating them. Here he is. They're strangers. He owes them nothing. He could put them to death if he wanted to. But what does he do? He says, look, I understand your plight. I don't trust you, but I understand your plight. And they say, wait a minute, he's caring about, he sends food back to Canaan. He's going to do that anyway. I'll send back food to Canaan. You just bring your other brother back, and then that will verify what you're saying is true. That's fine. And so he says, so they're talking. You can see that they're huddled, maybe on a bench outside of his primary office. And they said, oh, wait a minute. Look how kind he is to us. He doesn't owe us anything. And yet he's worried not only about us, he's worried about our wives, our family. People don't usually care about strangers, people you've never met, like our family does. And therefore they utter the words, says our brother. Now, one possibility is they say, Aval Hashem imanach. But look at us. What did we do when our brother, not a stranger, our brother cried out to us? Now there's a question, is the Torah does not say any words that Yosef said when he was in the pit. The Ramban deals with that, and we don't have to deal with it right now because of time reasons. But sometimes the Torah omits certain dialogue when it has a higher agenda. So that's the first thought that as to why they would consider that they are now guilty. Here's what he did, look what we did. Then the second one is, they were probably thinking, their first thought is, what rotten luck, all right? Of all the people in the world to meet, we meet him, whoever this guy is, and why he wants to accuse us, we don't know, but they're considering it to be happenstance. Things happen in life, things you don't expect happen, and they can happen. But when they see
You're frozen.
I'm very sorry, everybody. If you're still here, I'd like to finish the shir. Okay,
We are.
good. So we got right to the main point. All right. Thank you for staying on. Okay, so the question is, Abravanel says, well, there's a second reason. Up until now, they thought, what bad luck? How unfortunate. And they realized that Yosef's behavior is so irrational that it must be hashkacha. It must be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is behind this. And so now that changes their ideas. One more thing. The phrase aval ashemim anachnu, but we are guilty. I've been thinking about this when they say ashemim anachnu. What do they mean? It would be wonderful, Rav Jonathan Sachs says that the key to Torah is listening, not just reading. And it's true, because if you say, aval ashemim anachnu, you don't know how they said it. Did they say, aval, but ashemim anachnu? He is good and we are awful. Or did they say, aval ashemim anachnu? We thought all of this time that we acted properly. We thought all this time we had a bezdin and he deserved to whatever he got, he deserved. And now we're going to say, lo, ashemim anachnu. We're not innocent. We perpetrated a terrible ill on our brother. And that in itself depends on where the emphasis is. Is it on ashemim anachnu? Look at him. We thought he was terrible, but we're the ones who are. Or is it aval ashemim anachnu? In fact, we thought until now we did everything right. He was a nuisance, and he was a tattletale, and he was his father's favorite, and he was all of those things that are bad, and we were good. Now we realize how we have been. So this is the issue here, and I'm very sorry about the interruption in the middle, but that's the story so far of ashemim anachnu. We in fact are guilty, however we interpret it. Okay, everybody, I want to wish everybody a Chanukah Sameach, and again, my apologies for the interruption in the shir.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Myers.
Happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
And
Rabbi
Shabbos,
Meyer?
everybody.
you
Yes,
do have a yard site coming up, Rabbi. Don't
that's
you?
correct. That's right. Tomorrow night is my father's yard site, and Friday. Yes.
His neshama heaven aliyah.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Rabbi
Okay.
Meyer,
Yes.
this is Devorah Kaufman. I'm not going to come on Shabbos morning because it's supposed to be very, very cold.
I know, Devota. Wow. Yeah. It's really going to be. Yeah. Well, I live next door, so I'll be there, but I certainly understand if people can't make it on Shabbos.
Right. So,
So thank you for that. How was New York? I hope it was good.
yeah, Baruch Hashem, beautiful. Thank you.
Fun. Good. Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you for your pearls of
Okay,
wisdom.
thank you.
It was a great
Hanukkah
gift.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hanukkah Sameach and a good Shabbos
Hanukkah
and
Sameach.
Chodesh.
Yes, you too. Yeah. Bye-bye.